Good evening. Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the Think Show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so called African American didn't find their way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One. And today we're going to look at something. Okay, so you know how in the culture it goes, stuff is just introduced, and before you know it, the masses are nibbling on it. They can say anything. The powers that be can tell you anything, and you jump in and just do it without even checking with yourself. Whatever they tell you to do, you do it. This is not you, of course, who's listening, because we got a pretty cool crowd. But pass on information to these younger people. Pass it on because they're not getting a lot of information. You see what the mainstream is just putting out mass garbage. And remember, the first of the year in Chicago, watch Chicago. This is how things are introduced. This is why the homelessness is going through the roof. And you got all these empty places around here. So what they're going to have to do, that they already decreasing the population already, but they have to, it's a lot of us. And when they're ready to get rid of people, they do this little trick they've been doing for a long time. And those of you guys who are aware, not woke, because woke, those of you who are aware of what's going on, I just want to give you a few minutes to give you something in a nice, not so long explanation of what's going on and what you're about to start seeing. Now, if you live in the urban areas around the city, you are already living with it. You are already living in it. Some 13-year-old girl is always getting killed, getting shot while she sleep. Just happened here. Brothers shooting and killing each other. Why would you fight your own army? What are you doing? You see, and this is what I want to make clear, y'all. Pass this down to these kids. You see, I don't care who you are. You see that we're being overran by immigrants. It's in your city now. You can try to pretend like it's not, but it is. And we just find it necessary to rob and fuck each other over. Okay. About to pay for that. There's a crime called genocide, is when you want to get rid of people and you do things to do it. You change the culture, you change the TV shows, you change what they look like on TV. You change up everything. You change what they supposed to be or what they're supposed to naturally grow into. You come up with all kind of to make the people something that you want them to be. So a crime called genocide. Now check this out, y'all. Check this out. This is this is what is done. I don't know if you guys ever heard Dick Gregory. Remember Dick Gregory did a piece on when they had the Olympics in LA in, was it 84? What happened to the homeless population in LA when they were bringing the world to see? From 1984 to now, everybody should know that Olympic stuff is some ritual stuff that they do every 4 years. See, they go by a clock. but we call ourselves woke. So, genocide, these cats right here came up with the term genocide. I'll blow it up so you can see it. These cats from all different nations all over the world, and this was going on heavy back in the World War II times. They was just killing people, you know, to get them off the land, to get them off the land. So these cats here, these cats, I mean, they're, you know, you can just check it out yourself. These guys are from all nations everywhere, and I can't, I, I can't get my screen to how I need to get it. But when you look at the word genocide, is rooted in the Greek word genos for tribe or race, and side, the derivation code, or I mean the word for side is kill. So you want to get rid of a whole bunch of people. How do you do it? How do you do it without nobody saying nothing? Because you ain't heard nothing from the homeless people in 84. And LA is a cool homeless spot because it's always warm. You can live in LA, you can live in LA and live like you living in some places in the world because it's always warm. It's a desert. It's always warm. What happened to the homeless population? And the Olympics are coming again. Go ahead. Next Olympics, I don't know, are coming to America again. What is that going to look like? I would suggest you check out when they were doing those world fairs and stuff, change and stuff. Pay attention to that because the problem has always been in America, and they have written on it, is the Negro problem. See, we're the problem. They can't get to the land because you want it. So they have to commit genocide to get rid of you. And if you're with it, which most Negroes are, most, a tad over 50%, you with it. You live out there, you live out those people who came up with that idea, you live it out. You be it because they tell you what to do. You don't think. You always waiting to do what somebody tells you to do. What percentage? What percentage of the people that we call African Americans, what percentage of them do that? Let's be honest. Hmm? Hmm? What percentage? Somebody, one person. What percentage of the population? Mr. Newbill says 98%. Uh, okay, I will say this. So remember, you're just you're not even a grain of sand if you compare, if you put yourself against all the people in the world. One of you, and you're right. I know where you're coming from. One of you, just one, is not enough to hold off the masses. It takes a lot. And more than a lot of us are our fucking minds. So this Christmas just passed, right? And it's a horrible time. Now, I will say my niece, she's going to school to be a chef, and she showed out. She got out. But all the rest of that stuff, forgot you did it today. So when we get with the family, we're supposed to talk about what we've learned since the last time we saw each other. That could make all of us better. The African American has been completely removed from his and her original design. What you what your mother and father got together, what your grandmother and grandfather got together. I'm talking about the men and women who were born in America. Why does everybody want to come where you live? I mean, they don't even care about their own. They will leave their ancestors never nothing to get what you got. Why? And why do you give it away? And then try to act like you not. So, genocide. Very important what genocide is, what they think it is to just kill off a bunch of people. So there are 10 stages of genocide. I'm going to share those with you now, but but this is what you got to know about that. This is what you got to know because the genocide won't work. It's something that goes before they go on the kill spree. And like you said, in Chicago on the first, check out what they got planned. This is how stuff is moved in on us, but we don't, we act like we don't understand or we act like we don't see it. And the stuff is going right on in our face. But before genocide can take place, something very sinister has to go on first. And you're seeing that's done now. Before you can have genocide, you have to have menticide. Menticide is very important. Everybody in the group should know what menticide is. Everybody in the group should know what menticide means. Right? Right? So check this out. Before you have to have genocide, you have to have menticide. Why? Because you have to kill the mind. You have to kill the mind. And what is menticide? Bobby Wright. See, this is what I'm saying. Our ancestors be telling us, but we don't be listening because we got to watch the game. We got to eat. Nothing is never in the constructive. Always just doing what we told, what we were taught. And then we teach our kids that and act like it's not a problem, don't we? Menticide is destroying a person's or group's mind with the ultimate goal being destruction of that person or group. One more time. Menticide, destroying a person's or group's mind, with the ultimate goal being destruction of that person's or group. So you gotta kill their mind, because if they caught on, the plan wouldn't work. The plan wouldn't work, right? The plan wouldn't work. So you gotta destroy the person or group mind. So that's why when you're talking or when you're speaking on something, make sure you know what you're talking about, because it ain't no excuse. Because this information has been out since before many of you were born. And what indigenous people should be doing, because these are the a matter of fact, these are foisted on us all the time. So I want to go through them real quick, and I want to you guys in the group, you guys just throw back some words at me on how do you see this going on in real time. Okay, so the first one is classification. All cultures have categories that distinguish people into us and them by ethnicity, race, religion, or nationality. German and Jew, Hutu and Tutsi. Bipolar societies that lack mixed categories, such as Rwanda, are most likely to have genocide. The main preventive measure at this early stage is understanding, and that promotes classification that transcends the divisions. This is the part of it that when people blah 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 blah, this is that part. You tell a person, you classify them, you call them what, thugs, you call them black. And notice, when people say black, they don't say it in a like you a person. Notice why all the people have words before the term American, right? Chinese American, Korean American, German American. Why is that? It's because they're behind you, but you don't see it. Classification. So they classify you as, we're not in the mainstreams. We're not in that Kanye West life. So imagine what he was living through or still lives through every night. Imagine what those people do. And many of them are worshiped by the masses, right? Trying to turn people into something that they're not. It doesn't work. You're going to have major consequences. So, one of the first stages of genocide is classification. How do they classify people? How are you made to look? What are the images putting out in the mainstream media of you? See, those are things we got to know. How are they putting you on the news? What image? So the rest of the world, and like I'm saying, um, when you on these social media sites, go to the ones that hate, go to all of them, go check them out and see what people are thinking of the so-called African American. I'm talking about in the open, and because you have like Facebook and all that, where they'll they'll ban you. They'll put you in a timeout. You have websites out there that don't work like that. You can say whatever you want. It's free speech. Why we don't like free speech? Because most of us don't have nothing to say. It's like the 98% sister was talking about. We don't know what to say because we don't take the time to learn nothing. For the most part, all we do is watch TV. Is that the 98% you was talking about, love? Hmm? I'm sorry, Mr. Newbill, you're not love. I mean, you probably are, but not to me. How does the World Tribunal work? I don't understand. Hey, Nicole, how you doing, love? Keith Cobbs, I don't know what the word, how does the World Tribunal work? Uh, I mean, it hasn't. I mean, it's a nice idea, but I haven't seen it work. Um, Kind of like you're talking about the World Court and stuff like that. That's what I think you're talking about. If you are, I haven't seen it work. But what I do see in nature is that works a whole nother way. That works a whole nother way. The rabbits, the squirrels, the ants, those things in nature that we're supposed to be learning from, they don't do, they stay true to themselves. What you call the African American, they don't do that, do they? No. So, like I say, when you're born here, that's why you're important. Why were you born here? I mean, why weren't you born in Bulgaria somewhere? Why weren't you born in the Middle East somewhere? Come on. Why? Why were you born here where everybody wants to come and will lie and say they're you and you'll believe it? You won't even question it. Won't even question it. This what you really wanted to integrate into? This what you really wanted to integrate into? So classification. They're going to classify you and make you do all kind brothers being cheerleaders. So when you go to other platforms and hear people speak, oh, no respect. Over on our side, we think it's cool. That's called menticide. They got to kill the mind before they get rid of you. One of the next steps is symbolization. We give names to other symbols to the classification. We name people Jews, blacks by what they wear. That's funny because we don't even design our own clothes. And we'll look at you like you're retarded if you make the assumption. If you go back and look at some of those pictures, you can go back to the 1600s and find images, people that look just like you all over the place. All over the place. You will run into somebody who you recognize. Why you don't know about it? Because it's been completely hidden from you. Completely. So that's why you're gonna have to tune in to yourself. Don't worry about what nobody else got. Don't worry about what nobody else is doing. What you doing? Because you came here for a reason. I don't know what that is. You know why you here. Ass is wiggling, homie. So symbolization, so the clothes, how you dress, they already got us figured out in that. We always gonna be in some tennis shoes, right? A white tee, right? And we fallen off so far we don't even think about making our own clothes. And when you look at them images in the early 1900s of the way sisters was making dresses, ask your grandmothers of the dresses their grandmothers used to make. You know how you look like you're gonna sigh? She'll look like that, but she's looking at you like those were the days. These women used to make clothes off the hook. Some of your parents and grandparents know about that. The next form of genocide is discrimination. A dominant group uses law, customs, and political power to deny the rights of other groups. Is that happening now? I mean, I don't see the whole thing about the vote thing. I mean, I don't have any, I've never known it to work. It was always a sham. And Negroes will walk around with that I voted shit on their chest all day, like you did something. You know those you know those kind of people, right? They vote and then they act like they really done something. It doesn't work. And that's what I'm saying. How don't we see that? Menticide. We don't even think about it. Dehumanization. One group denies the humanity of the other groups. Is that what's going on now? Is that going on? I mean, today. Is it going on? We try to laugh it away. Tee Act like we don't see it. Okay. Bringing a lot of immigrants over that want to take your place. You don't think these people who you went to these wars and fought against don't want to get back at your ass? Huh? They gonna support the troops then? Menticide. Destroy the mind. And they've been eating at the Negro's mind for what, 1860s? At least. And every move you made since then has been the wrong one. Next step, organization. Genocide is always organized, usually by the state. Check out what's happening in Illinois on the first of the year. Check out what's happening in California. Hell, check out where you live. So you'll see it. Don't be you know, and that's how it stopped. You have to be aware of it. You got to be aware of it. If you just la 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 walking around, you ain't gonna even see it coming. Polarization. Extremists drive the groups apart. So that's already going on with the groups. What I'm talking about is the families. The families breaking apart because they want to join these other groups. Wrong move. Families breaking apart to join these other groups. I mean, how don't we see that? Menticide, destroy the mind. The people gonna do as they told, right? Extremists drive the groups apart. And extremists would be Trump. Y'all ever seen those two sisters who who be loving on Trump? Two sisters. The wig wearing this fit. See, those are African Americans. They weren't born to be that. You think they great great grandmama? What you think they great great grandmama would say now? And this is how you get rid of people. You think people, influencers and all that, your friends? No, stick with your family, man. Because you're part of a group of people that's huge. We're a little low on our numbers because, something in death. I think is that looking at ourselves as black, looking at ourselves as things. Black, you're just like a can you kick on the ground. Black doesn't describe a people or a culture or a nation of people. Somehow we think that's cool. Preparation. National or perpetrator group leaders or plan the final solution to the Jewish, Armenian, all these groups. You know what? You ever get a chance, if you haven't already, check out that Rwanda situation. If you haven't checked it out, I mean, because it didn't happen here, so we really don't seem to check out a lot of stuff that doesn't involve us directly. But that Rwanda thing, check that out. And this is who the African Americans say is his ancestors. The mind is gone. The mind is gone. You can tell he shines anything. They'll repeat it as long as they get paid from it. Check out that Rwanda thing. I mean, these cats were just hacking people to death. And you want me to call myself that? You crazy. Persecutions. Victims are identified and separated because their ethnic and religious identity. So if you look at what you call the African American, Black, Negro, they've all wrapped themselves up in likenesses of the groups that they'll be persecuted in. You see what I'm saying? A telltale sign. I mean, where a lot of them are together. And that's why what they try to do, exterminate a whole bunch of them together. Check out the museums if you can find some genocide museums. Man, they have one in Los Angeles. It's the Museum of Psychiatry. You want to see some wild shit? Check out the Museum of Psychiatry. You probably can find it on YouTube. Check out the Museum of Psychiatry. Check out what they were doing to themselves, so you know what they was doing to us. So these are the people who have been in control of your education, your religion, your food, your air, your water. You think what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi ain't going on in every city in this country? Pipes, iron pipes. That's been in there for hundreds of years. Huh? We don't care. Extermination begins and quickly becomes a mass killing called genocide. I've heard people say we're in genocide now. It's a genocide. I've heard hundreds of people say that. And why we don't recognize it's a genocide is because we're the ones doing it. See, we should have ourselves together. Let's say, okay, we just had a young lady, 12 years old, sleeping in the bed, getting ready for Christmas. You know how you are at that age. Young cats drive up in front of her house, shooting her house, killing her. I know you've heard this story zillions of times. So, what happens to that girl? Because she was probably going to have children. What happens to those children? They're not here. This is another way how genocide is pulled out. See, when we kill one another, we ensure nations aren't born. And you think Jesus gonna save you from that? This is what we do. This is what we do. Proudly. So when they say the extermination, I mean, can you see these 10 stages of genocide? They're not in the open like you at the fair or nothing. It ain't like that. But you've seen this last thing we've been going through the past 3 years. How many people went for it? I mean, serious. See, now everybody's trying to act like, huh? You won't even speak up for yourself. You won't even speak up for yourself. Nicole just told me to bring up eugenics. That goes hand in hand with what we talking about. So, yeah, I like Candy D. Candy D said it. Solutions for genocide. Here's my solution. I'm gonna go ahead and put the um, go ahead and put the so you can come on and what you say. I want to know what you say. What I say, we have to be aware. I mean, that's why I do what I do, man. I mean, damn, I look, man, the people who I've met in my life, my family, all the friends and family, some of the coolest people in the world. I, I, damn, I've learned something since I've been here. I've been places since I've been here. Keith says, I put the chat, I put the please welcome. But Keith Cobb says, I truly believe that we have to separate ourselves again. Uh okay, so I think every idea has to be put on the table, uh, and it has to be met. What does the masses say? We have to separate ourselves again. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't I don't think, bruh. And I'm not saying it to be, I'm just saying, you checking out these shines, man. You checking out what these cats are do to be in these movies? You paying attention to what these cats are do to be on the screen? Oh, Nicole, I'm gonna be right with you, okay? Don't you go nowhere. Brother, Lacono Empire. What's happening, homie?
How you doing, bro? Can you hear me?
Oh man, yeah, hold on. Let me, let me. Okay, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
How you
How
doing,
you
brother? How
doing,
you
brother?
doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm calling all the way from England. I'm Arawak. I'm
Oh,
Arawak Indian, and I'm from Jamaica and Cuba. Tuning
oh,
in to you guys.
okay, cool. What you doing over in England, man? What's happening over there?
What regarding just what the living situation or just in general you're talking?
I'm talking about what's going on. What's happening with brothers and sisters over in England. We hardly get no news about what's going on over there with them.
Okay, so pretty much like I'll give you like a rundown from like 2020 to now. So from 2020, because of the Android 19, I'm not gonna say where it is, but you know where it is.
Yes,
There's pretty much been a rebellious stance against all nationalities of colours and creeds regarding this lockdown situation that happened. A lot of protests have been happening. Hasn't been coverage that worldwide or media wide based, only in England. So if you don't speak to somebody from over here where I'm at, then you will never know what's going on over here.
right,
Um, so regarding that, I mean, even the coach situation, I know you touched on it about culture appropriation. Um, and basically West Indians are realizing, or say all Americans are realizing that they're being culture appropriated by foreigners who's not from the Western Hemisphere. So we see that playing out. I know you might have heard Africans say some derogative things regarding Americans. They also state this about anybody from the Americas, whether from the West Indies or whatever the case may be. They don't really like us. They like our culture though, but they don't really like us as a nation or a people, you know?
right. we're going on here is going on big time here. The problem that stemmed here, why it's going to be difficult to work with here, is because these African Americans, they think they are African, and when you ask them, well, where you from? What nation you from? They don't know. So as usual, they drank the Kool-Aid. So that's what's gonna, and they made it possible for all the people to come here and replace them. So
Yes.
this is the reality of what's going on now. So we've been in this for, brother. I mean, ugh. And so the African American has made it possible for every nation, and we have a lot of one of the things we have going on here that's a problem that nobody's talking about is the homelessness. And you have a lot of homeless veterans, and the homeless veterans, they have a PSTD problem that's not never gonna go away, because they've seen it. They went over and fought these other countries, and they get back home, and these other countries are now in the same neighborhoods that their parents are in, and they're mentally, they gone, man.
Mhm.
Because they don't know, damn, what if they do start doing to my people what I did to theirs? So it's a real conundrum, man.
I agree. I definitely do agree. I mean, a lot of brothers and sisters that serve in the military or in the army do suffer from PTSD, even over here in England. A lot of people that serve the British Empire, they go to wars, and they come back, whatever happens, if they've been, injured in war and these things, they come back over here, they get mistreated by the government. Same way in the States.
Right,
People serve their country and they get mistreated by the country, by the corporation, basically.
right,
And there's a lot of issues going on with that over here as well. So there's a lot of similarities, regarding, well, I should say, I could speak about the West Indian demographic. That's what I fall under. So I cannot speak about African people,
right,
even though we have issues with these people.
right,
In England, we find, well, in England, I can say that a lot of Africans are stealing American people's culture. For what I see on a day-to-day basis, whether
right,
it's from North America, you know, North America, or that meaning the States and the islands, or South and Central America, the Americas. We do see a lot of that. We do see a lot of that every day, and a lot of West Indians are waking up to the cold reality that we and these people are not the same. We are not the same people as these. They do call us about our names. Like, I know they do the same thing with Americans. I talk to a lot of Americans, or what people say, misnomer African Americans. I talk to them on a regular basis. So, we're both getting prejudice against Native Africans. They don't really like us, like I said. They do call us derogative names. They do say to us in our face that we as West Indians, or we as Americans and Africans, are not the same people. Don't have the same culture. There's cultural differences in these things. Like you said before, a lot of people who buy into this narrative or what they learned from the school curriculum, okay, same thing affects us over here as West Indians. We never get taught about our history. I mean, I grew up in England. I'm born in England, but my heritage goes back to the islands. But as a child, or as a child growing up in England, they don't really teach about European history or Europa history or indigenous European history. Actually met a European that was sent to the islands. Matter of fact, she's dark skinned, Irish or Scottish or from Britannia, the British Isles and these things. But I actually spoke to him regarding history of Europa. He told me some stuff that was never taught to us in history textbooks and these type of things about how black people ruled, how black Europeans ruled over white people and these type of things. But further more to the point, they don't teach us about the history
man. You kind of
of where
break
we come
it
from.
a bit.
Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, that's much better. Well, brother, thank you
Oh,
for
my,
giving us. Thank you for giving us a call, homie. Hey, we gonna move on to the next caller.
Yeah, pick up yourself, bro. Keep it pushing, man.
Yes,
Great
brother.
work, bro. Great work.
I'm gonna do that.
Manos. Yeah.
All right.
Manos. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Carrie,
Miss Allen.
I had to jump in with the genocide, and also going off of what the gentleman just said is that they do exclude a lot of the history because all of the Europeans that originated were of dark skin. And Benjamin Franklin, actually, whose name was Benjamin, actually spoke about the fact that there were more swarthy people, which at that time was the same as calling someone black, than there were anyone else, and they wanted to lighten up the planet. So what he's saying is true. And if you go back and you look at the English royalty and the English monarchs and so forth, you'll find that they were people of color and aboriginal to those areas of the world. So that's something that I learned recently, and I was just like, wow, was pretty interesting. And they also are the ones who manipulated us into being what we are today, who basically got us started with selling ourselves out and so forth, because they had to trust people who look like them. I mean, there's pictures of Christopher Columbus being dark skinned. There's pictures of Nikolai Tesla where they show him as being an aboriginal person. They went through and they whitewashed our history into conform, so it would conform to what they wanted to do, because that's their agenda to start the genocide.
Okay. So we know all of that.
Right.
What's the next step?
Well, the first of all, I think that the next step is, you guys, we really need to educate ourselves. We really need to educate. You need to go back in this story that we live in and really take a look at the people that formulated this, like Margaret Sanger. I mean, she wrote a book in 1920 that I happened to fall upon called Woman and the New Race. And she speaks about the genocide that they had planned. I mean, she took the rulings of Sir Francis Galton, and they so-called used them in Germany, but actually they used them here because you have the people like Walter Ashby Pleckard, who created the Racial Integrity Act, that was removing our people off of our land and renaming us to being Negro and so forth. So we need to go back and look at these things, and so that way we know where we're going for in the future. Because if we don't, and we keep on going down the path that we're going, we're basically gonna be extinct, not only at their hand but our hand too. Because instead of creating some type of solidarity, we're concerned about who has what. Or, and I'm going to say this, and if I offend some ladies out there, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to say it. We got to stop wearing that fucking hair weave. I mean, to be honest with you, that's part of the problem, because you're disconnecting yourself from your world by doing that, by putting on someone's hair. And that's not even hair. The Caucasian has fur. We are the only beings that have hair. Our hair is a nine ether material, which grows up outward to the universe. And it's how we are communicated with. When you're covering it with someone else's fur who has devious intentions, you're blocking off all signals that you're going to get. And everything is transferred through the woman. And we're polluting ourselves by doing the fake eyelashes with the glue, and the hair with the glue, because it's causing the alopecia and all of those things. If we don't get ourselves together as women and start really paying attention to the things around us, because everything is done to the woman to just destroy the society. And if you pay attention, women are far from who they were at one time. The land was procured to the woman. Everything was done through the woman. The names were done through the woman. The child and the husband took on the woman's name at one time. So if we don't start going and reverting back to our lineages and looking back at our families, we're just gonna, well, not families, but our lineage, we're gonna end up in a much worse condition than what we're in right now. And we're not in a good condition as of right now. All these things have attributed to our demise. Eugenics is a huge thing that has contributed to our demise. And I'm sorry that I'm rambling on, but this is a subject that really, really, really touches me. Eugenics alone, abortion clinics, everything. If you guys ever find a book called The Delectable Negro, read it, because without our body parts, they can't exist. Without the abortion clinics being in the inner city areas and them taking that abortion clinics and putting on your Pepsi and your Coke, you can't exist. When you eat a Cheeto and that natural flavoring, that's an aborted Aboriginal child somewhere in there. So you got to really start educating yourself about the things that are going on in your environment in order for you to be able to take a hold of what's rightfully ours. This is our land. This is our land. Nobody else's. It's ours. And we have the right legally to remove them off of it. But we have to know who we are first. I'm sorry.
So okay, so I've heard it that body parts is mixed in all with the food.
Mm-hmm.
What's the purpose of that?
Honestly, I really think that it's to make us more along the vibration that they're on. Because of the fact is that they changed everything. I mean, before the 70s, if you remember how the music was, and like even with like the Parliament and the Earth, Wind and Fire and all those groups, the music had a high vibration to it. So when people listened to it, their bodies, of course, would in tune with the vibration, and then you would emulate a certain type of energy. Well, they've taken that and put that down to 440 and lower, and now everybody's on a low vibration and in their ego and wanting to kill each other after they hear the song. And then it's promoting the homosexuality through the music too, which people aren't paying attention to because all they talk about is asses in the movie. I mean, in the music, I'm sorry. So it's just like when you put that, when you take that and you put the the fetuses in the food and stuff like that, because they practice cannibalism. That's something that they've done. I mean, the first so-called Thanksgiving was when they ate the Aboriginal people that helped them to be able to farm. So cannibalism has been something that has been prevalent in their structure for a long time. So if you get everybody to do it, you get everybody on the same page, and then you wonder why people are acting like they are insane and doing all these things. Is because of the things that are in their diet. You have to go back to eating the things that belong to us as a people. We ate greens, we ate vegetables. We sometimes we didn't even eat meat. It was some hot water cornbread and some greens and maybe some potatoes or something. But what we're eating now has a lot to do with how we think and how we move in our the odor that comes off your body. You can tell when somebody eats a lot of processed food because they have a certain stench. So I think that putting those ingredients in the food also are a way to get you into being African American in a sense, and also in a way to creating more genocide. Because if you get sick and you get the high blood pressure and the heart problems and the diabetes from what you're eating, then you got to take the prescriptions, which also have some of the fetal cells in it, to help supposedly cure your high blood pressure, which actually makes it worse.
Yeah, man. We looking for some solutions because it really doesn't look good. A lot of people, they really preserve themselves with this whole situation that's been going on for the last couple of years. I don't think as many people got into it as that they're broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
I think the people were a lot smarter than that. I don't think everybody fell for it, but those that did, you
Mm-hmm.
start to see, especially in those high profile people.
Mm-hmm.
People can't really be hidden because they have a job to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when they start falling off and dropping dead, the masses become suspicious.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot to all of this. I mean, if you just go back and like you look at Walter Ashby Pleckard, there's a picture that's floating around of Walter Ashby Pleckard with Marcus Garvey. And everybody, the Garveyites. But if you knew that Marcus Garvey was created by eugenicists, maybe it would cause you to look at things a little differently, because of the fact is that their idea was to take us and remove us off the land, like Frederick Douglass said in the Folly of Colonization speech that he gave to Congress in 1891. He said this, and so years later they came up with Marcus Garvey and this Garveyite movement, and it was to take us off of our land and take us to a colony that the United States had set up in Liberia. If you go look at Liberia now, because this was shown to me in the past year or so, Liberia is full of Africans who are acting like rabid dogs. They're killing each other. They're eating hearts. They're raping children. They're doing all kinds of things. But this is where they wanted you to go, because they wanted you off the land. Because the one thing about America, or America, whatever you want to call it, it sits on one of the biggest water reserves in the world. It has the biggest water reserve in the world. That's just one of the many benefits of this land. I mean, there are several thousand others. I mean, but that's the biggest one, is because if you control the water, You control everybody because everybody needs water. And then they pollute it, and that's killing the water because water is a living substance as well. So the idea of you need to learn more about how I feel how these laws that they created or statutes or whatever are really affecting us as a people, because it has blindsided us from being able to take back what's rightfully ours, because every time you do something, you're putting yourself into the jurisdiction of the corporation known as the United States. So you have to learn how to remove yourself out of that and stop being a jurisdictional citizen, because you're not even have to be listed as a citizen, because this is your land, this is our home, and they have taken rights away from us that they have had no right to do, but because we weren't paying attention, or we were thinking that what they were doing was right, we went along with it. I mean, we went along with the birth certificate, but before 18 something, the birth certificates didn't exist. Your mama wrote your name down in the Bible. And she knew when your mama knew when you were born. She could tell you, oh, you were born this time, this day. I went out to the tree, I grabbed a branch, and you came out. But now we have all these things that have indoctrinate us into the system, and it's causing detriment because now they're able to reclassify you as being something that you're not, because you are using zip codes and you're paying taxes. You don't have to pay taxes. Taxes does not belong to us. It's not ours. You can remove yourself from all of that.
Why isn't this information just common knowledge for everybody? Let me give you a story.
Mhm.
Earlier, I asked the question: how many of us do you think are just totally out of it? This sister said 98%.
Mhm.
98%. That's what it seems like. Nobody seems to be, getting it. Nobody seems to understand what's happening right in front of their faces. So since they're not seeing it, what are they doing?
Watching TV, listening to this destructive music, and really not caring about what's going on. They don't care. You have to have some type of care in order to be able to change things. If it's going to take you out of your proverbial comfort zone, they're not going to do it. Not a lot of people are going to look up, well, what is this? Or when someone gives you a subject, like I put the eugenic archive subject on the website on there. People should go on and look at it, because you would then see how eugenics has formulated and intertwined with our society and what it has really done, because its goal is to create a master race. That was the whole thing. They feel like they're better than everybody else and so forth. So if you're not willing to use the things that we have to help us to gain knowledge, and all you do is go on the internet, to go on Facebook or Instagram, or watch some music videos on YouTube, then you're not really taking the time to educate yourself. And libraries still exist, and they still have a lot of books in them. But when I go to the library, I see older people, I see homeless people, and I see a lot of white people in libraries. I mean, it's like libraries are a plethora of information, but we don't use these tools that are right at our hands. They tell you in your face. They've already said this. If you don't want us to know something, put it in a book. And that's bad, to be able to categorize someone like that. So you have to educate yourself, because the only way you're going to know is if you educate yourself. College damn sure ain't going to teach you. HBCUs are not going to teach you. They're going to teach you what they want you to know from the Jewish American perspective. They're not going to tell you anything else.
How do they get so much play?
Jews?
No, HBCUs.
Because they're historically black colleges, and they make it seem like they are the forefront of our education, when the forefront of our education was the land. So they get so much play because they have been infiltrated by Greek societies. I mean, you got You got people pledging Greek and pledging sororities and stuff like that. That's not you. If you really knew what Greeks really did, would you really want to do that? I mean, if it's Greeks were twisted people, but they have intertwined in the societal structure and made it seem like that's the thing to be. And yeah, so that's how they'll make it so much play. They get money to keep you at that point. They get funding to infiltrate your mind. You're not doing anything by going there. You're not doing anything by getting a piece of paper from an HBCU, even though you think you are. You're just being an obedient citizen.
You know what? And so when the sister said 98%,
Mm-hmm.
you can't you cannot not agree with her. Check this out.
That's true.
So I go over my mom's yesterday. You know, one of the thing about the holidays, because I don't do the Christmas thing, but I don't want to be estranged from the family just because I don't do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Go over there and kick it. So my aunts and everybody starts to come over. And you know, I'm not saying nothing because they'll act like I just came in there with a submachine gun and shot up everybody. I can't breathe. They'll come up with all kind of things. They'll come up with all kind of things like I ruined the party. So my aunt asked me how I'm doing. I'm doing fine. What's going on? And so when it's time to hold hands and say prayers, I just, you know, I don't want to be in that circle. You know, I'm just comfortable. You know, you guys go ahead and do that. So she goes, well, you know, why are you being like that? I'm like, I'm just not into that type of lifestyle. This chick is 76 years old. She goes, well, what is it about the Bible you don't like? I said, you guys be worshiping unicorns and shit. There you go. There you go. I'm like, you guys do that, right? She goes, no, what is that? I mean, made it try to seem like I was crazy, right? I'm a conspiracy theorist. So I said, do you have your Bible with you? Ain't never read it. This is what I'm saying. 76 years old. Haven't read it. So when the sisters say 98%, she's about right. So I said, get your Bible. She got it. It's all colored, you know, got little cowboys and Indians drawn in it and shit. I told her to turn to that part where it got the unicorns in it, and she read it. Well, when she got the unicorn, she stopped. She didn't want to read it. What's up?
Of course, because it's truth.
And that's what I'm saying, man.
Yep.
We won't even look at the real shit right in front of our face and change.
Nope.
So when the sister said 98%, okay. Oh man. Oh.
It's better to watch Housewives in Atlanta and Love and Hip Hop than pick up a book that's teaching you something. That's, you know, it's easier. So that's what the standard is. It's like, you know what's going on those shows, and you know you're it, instead of educating yourself, because you're educating yourself, not going to a school, but educating yourself is key to know what's going on. I mean, it's like, I think about like when I first started coming on your show, and actually we started talking, it was like how much information I have received since then. And it's just like, you have to know what is going on around you, because they don't have any power over you unless you give it to them. And when you get, how you give it to them is you go get a driver's license and you go register your car and you sign your baby up to on the birth certificate and you go get a social security card and you get a marriage license and all that. You give them power over you and you give it to them freely. And you have the right to rescind that. You have the right to take that away because once again, this is our home. And if we all took back our power, we could tell people to get the fuck off of it and go home, go back to where they came from. But we won't do that on one accord. We have a speckle of people who know, and then we have the 98% who are like, these niggas is crazy. They're conspiracy theorists. No. So
let me so this is what I mean. So this cat American Fire. So this cat, he asks me, he tells me I'm just another plant, whatever that is. And this is what I'm saying. These are the cats that are the real problem. You have no other solutions though. Oh yeah, I do. You want to hear? I'm just going to give you one. I'm just going to give you one. And then you give me one. Let's do it like that. So the block I live on, my plan is every other house grows a certain that everybody could eat off of. So if we got 20 houses on the block, let's say 7 of those houses, let's say they grow corn. These are just examples because the food they give us is to control us, right? Right, American Fire? The next house grows, whatever, greens. But we got to get off the food because the food is controlling us. I say, like the sister said, 98%. I say that 50% of us could do that. That's not an economic solution. You have no economics. Stop eating out other people's mouths, dude. Stop eating out of. There's no economic solution. You have no economy. Your economy is theirs. You gave your economy to them, right, American Fire? This is what I'm saying, dude. Seriously, there's no excuse. Everybody should have at least 200 solutions in their head. So, dude, don't talk.
So in 1933, American Fire, just to kind of throw this your way, we used gold coins that had us on it and money that had us on it that we used as promissory notes to trade with each other. And we also had a barter system because like somebody might grow greens and you might need help plowing your field. So you bartered on services as well as goods. So in 1933, they said, well, you know what? We need for everybody to give back all this gold. And so everybody, like a dumbass, did it. And they gave us this dollar that we use that has no backing to it right now, no financial gain. So along with that, they started closing down our business structures, getting rid of our Aboriginal farmers, our general stores, our businesses. They started to, get rid of our towns by drowning them out and doing all of those type of things. And so they eradicated our power by indoctrinating us into their system. And so that's how come we are here right now. And the problem with you and with other people who have the mindset that you have is that on Carrie's channels, there's 33,000 followers. If everyone that is one of the followers sent Carrie $5, that would be quite a bit of money. That would be enough money to go to the Aboriginal farmers that still exist and say, hey, we want to open up a chain of Aboriginal grocery stores so we can start getting the foods that we need, fresh fruits, vegetables, blah, 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 blah. But instead, we won't do that. We'll get on someone's show who's trying to resolve the problem or get together and start having think tanks and start criticizing them. So until you are able to get your own think tank and you are able to have an actual viable solution that's going to solve the problem of obesity, heart attacks, diabetes, and other things that are going on in our community, along with pants sagging and ass shaking and all those things like that, and restore back our balance, then I suggest that you kind of step back a little bit and come back once you do have some formable ideas, because right now that's what we need. We don't need criticism. We need to work together to resolve this issue.
You know what? Can you imagine how much we waste being dumb?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what pisses me off more than anything in the world is a dumb noodle.
Mm-hmm.
Just never got always repeating some shit that never worked.
Mm-hmm.
Never knew, never, nothing new.
And yeah, I mean, it's like we have as a union. If we were to unify together, we have the right to to bring up charges against this government for the drowning of the people on Lake Lanier. That was a complete genocidal crime. They drowned people alive. I mean, of course, that's how you drown, but they didn't give those people a chance to get out of town. And because like Tulsa, Oklahoma, which everybody calls Black Wall Street, was a primarily Aboriginal town, and they knew it. But it sat on one of the biggest oil reserves in the world. So all of a sudden, you have a race war. No, that it was because of the oil there. And see, because we don't research these things and find out where this wealth was laying at, and that we held the wealth, that's why we're at where we're at. I mean, just alone with the fact of like the states. At one time, the states were considered republics, and so if you were born in Nevada, like where I'm at right now, you were considered a Nevadian, not a African American, not a Negro, none of that. You went by the state, which was the republic that you were born in, and we ran those republics. And they tell you like the Klan was this racial group. No, the Klan was used to intimidate you to assigning the Fourth Amendment to give away your rights to your land. So wake up. And if you don't believe me, get on in the internet and research it yourself, or go pick up a book, but research it and you'll find out that I'm telling you the truth, because I have nothing to gain by lying. So if we as a people really wanted this to end, we could end it in a day, just by not supporting the system that's destroying us.
And here's another solution. Let's use Shaw Q's. He says carpentry, plumbing, electrician, engineer, barbers. Isn't those just the skills you need to go back to some of these towns your moms and dads fled for these big cities, and go back and bring those cities and towns up to par? Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? Isn't
Mm-hmm.
that what people who come over here and get your money, take your money and go back home and do?
Mm-hmm.
Simple stuff. Simple stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are the things. Nicole, anything else you wanted to add before we get up?
No, but you guys check out the eugenics website. I really, really want people to look at it, because you're going to see all the many different areas that eugenics has infiltrated and caused problems, like the pipeline to prison and the birth rate and all of that stuff like that. So those are things that you might want to pay attention to, because of the fact that it has really caused detriment in our societal structure.
One of the things Nicole brought up about that Lake Lanier and the Black Wall Street, those were signs of genocide. So
Mm-hmm.
this is what I'm saying. They do things on the sly. All Katrina, that
Mm-hmm.
was that one a genocide. So this kind of stuff happens all the time. We just don't pay attention to it because, like you saw the brother asking those type questions. Damn, that's what we are. Very low thinking. That's the majority.
It's the
So
low hanging fruit.
yeah. So like I say, notice these things that are going on. Notice these 10 steps of genocide. Notice if they're going on, if they're put on, on TV and the radio. Listen to how they talking on the radio. I mean, it's bad. This weekend, I got to listen to what's played on the radio, what's going on TV. So pay attention to these signs of genocide, because it may just be right around the corner. Nicole, thank you for hanging out with me tonight, love.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me come on.
All right. Hey, you guys have a good night, and we'll see you later on in the week. Peace.